it still counts as a dependency until you tell Portage it's no longer just a dependency, it's now on work, because you want it to stay no matter what. Again, know your system. Make decisions. Okay, keywords. Portage has been ported to many different platforms, and each platform is given basically a keyword. And each e-build can have one or several keywords with a prefix which defines how is this e-build doing on this particular platform. So if you just have a plain keyword, it means it's stable. And most of the packages, of course, have the x86 keyword, probably with a prefix, but it means that you can, if you make an e-build, any platform it can run on, you can just add the keywords and anyone else can use it. So you tell people how this particular e-build is running on this particular platform. If it has a tilde in front of it, it means it's unstable. And the definition of unstable kind of depends on who's maintaining the package, but I think the most widely used is that the maintainers think that it is ready, it is supposed to be stable, but it has not been tested yet. So they put it out, and anyone who doesn't have a system they really depend on can try it. And yeah.
Any Debian users should realize that an unstable package could be rock solid. Gentoo's dev policy actually says when you write a new e-build for a new version of software or a new piece of software that wasn't there before, it goes in unstable to the Portage tree, and it doesn't get marked stable any sooner than a month after it's been in wide circulation. So if it's marked stable, if it's marked unstable, you don't really know what that means. But if it's stable, you can be pretty damn sure that it's not going to break your system, because hundreds or thousands of Gentoo users out there have installed it and not reported bugs. And the policy says that during this trial period, if bugs are reported, then that bumps it another month. So you have to have a stretch of 1 month where no e-build related bugs for that package are supported, and then it can become stable. So
can I ask a silly question on that? What if you release the e-build, it's there, and no one bothers to download it, so you have a month of just non-use?
Well,
is that checked? Is there a check to make sure that the people are installing it? Or?
The maintainer of the e-build will know about how popular it is. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, it is a bit of a judgment call, but the point is that if it's marked stable, at least you know that no bugs have been reported on it in a while. So that's what we do.
But again, this is how it's handled in the system, and then depending on which package tree you're working with, there can be some policy. On the official Gentoo Linux package tree, this is the policy, but you might want to have an overlay for e-builds you just use internally in your own company for your service, your own e-builds. And then stable, unstable can mean whatever it is you enforce it to mean. It's just how the system handles it. So basically you set up Portage to allow it which keywords you want it to install. Usually you say you just have your platform, and you say you want to go with stable. And if you run an important server, you want to stay just with stable. If you want to try out a few things, then you have just accept stable keywords, but then you override it. This is where the per package configuration comes in. You can override per package saying, oh, but this package I want to try the unstable one. And if you're really dumb, then you can just go with completely unstable, and then your system is broken with it a must. But hey, choice. Another possibility is when something is prefixed with a minus, it means it's masked. And it can be masked for different reasons, and again, I won't really come into policy. This is more about Portage than it is about Gentoo, so. But it usually is used when you want to put out an e-build, but it's not intended for use by anyone else besides people who really want to test this bleeding edge thing.
99% of the time in practice it's used for security advisories. So the Gentoo Foundation does that to cover their ass when there's a security vuln and OpenSSH that hasn't been patched yet. They mask that version of the package. You can install it at your own risk, but you have to work a little hard to do it. So that's what it is in practice most of the time.
Yeah. Or as I've also seen it used a few times as placeholders for future software. One example is the upcoming new version of Xorg. It hasn't been released yet, but Gentoo Linux has all the packages for it ready as placeholders, basically. Yeah. Do interrupt me if there's anything. Use flags. Well, the people who built Portage thought that, well, a lot of software comes with the usual make files, .configure files, whatever, and everyone who's used .configure and make knows that you usually do .configure and then enables or disables support for different libraries and whatever. But it might not always be that way. Maybe you install something binary, maybe people have not used .configure, just make, maybe they use something completely different, or maybe it's about whether or not you want to include something. Anyway, they thought about this system where use flags are basically binary switches, on-off switches for something. And this something is a little undefined. Usually it means that if you want to install something with support for a library or some other function, or you want to have all the documentation with it or not. You use it to configure what is installed when you install an e-build.
This is the beauty of source-based. You see, that's why I said, like, why the disadvantages shouldn't be considered disadvantage.
Yeah.
See, like, for example, you get a binary that has KDE stuff in it, but, you know, I use TWM, you know, so why do I need all this stuff into my binary? So that's why it's so beautiful here.
Yeah, that's where RPM hell came from.
Right.
When you try to install, you know, VM on Red Hat and you get like 50,000 dependencies.
Right.
Yeah.
And everything relies on Xpeng, so.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But the idea here is that they have this abstraction layer, use flags, which you can use in some way. So with the use flag, you do not really, as a user, you indicate what you want, but you don't really specify how you want it. And this is used for some of the most used ones are, for instance, if you have, there's a global use flag called KDE. If you set that, you indicate to packages who support this use flag that you want them, if they can support KDE in any way, they should install it in some way. It can mean, for different e-builds, it can mean different things. It can mean anything from installing scripts to linking to libraries to employing some special hack that actually makes it work with KDE. It doesn't really matter. You specify that if there is some KDE support, you want it.
I think the use flag is actually the most important part of the Gentoo.
Yeah.
Which is definitely part which is make it. Actually, for example, if you want to install Apache without PHP support, so you can put -PHP. So
yeah,
most of the distribution will install PHP already compiled with PHP support and so on. So it's a big code, which is anyway will not use it. So
exactly.
why should you?
Exactly. But again, this is the usual use of use flags, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can use flags in your e-build to switch on and off anything you basically like. It's just a switch. is what actually